Hello everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Amitabh, a DevOps engineer and AWS community builder in a containers category. In this video, we are going to cover IAM, AWS IAM in one shot, where we will cover IAM user, group, multi-session support, policy simulator, password policy, IAM roles, and the IAM instance profile, security tools, the best practices to use the IAM service, and the IAM permission boundary. So, without any delay, let's get started. And in this video, we are going to see what is a AWS IAM, IAM user, IAM groups, and how we can create both AWS IAM user and groups, how we can add a user into group and to give certain policies. And the last is to how we can enable a multi-session support. So, what is IAM? Basically stand for Identity and Access Management or AWS service, which is a global service. If you click on the IAM, if you go to the AWS console, and if you want to see whether the IAM is a global service or not, so you can see this is a global service. If you going to select the region, the all the region are logged, showing that the IAM is a global service. So whether you create a role, user, or a group, it will be shown into any region while using another AWS service. And AWS IAM is used to provide or share your AWS account within your organization, and so that anyone user or a group, suppose you have developer group or operation group, so that they can use your AWS account and perform action whatever have they have to do. And what is IAM users? IAM users basically a people within your organization who are working into your AWS organization, creating stuff for you. Suppose there is a group called developer. They have a person like A, B, C, whatever name of them. They have a certain privileges to use your AWS account. You can manage a user permission into your IAM dashboard, and you should always maintain a least privilege principle, providing only required permission. So what is IAM group now? So basically group contains people's users. Basically IAM user, and that cannot contain a groups. A group cannot contain a group. Suppose you have a multiple persons like A, B, C, and you have created a group called developer. So if you want to put all these users into developer group, you can put into a developer group. And if you want to isolate certain user, you can isolate. A user can be grouped or cannot be. This is a IAM user and a group. And let's see how we can create IAM user and a group. And for that you need to go to your IAM dashboard. After going to AWS IAM dashboard, you will see this user tab into left side. You have to click on that. Then you can simply see the create user. So I'm gonna create the username as Amitabh, and I will provide the console access. So this is a console you are saying as a root user. And if you want to provide the console access to your IAM user, like if you have junior developer into your organization, if you want to provide the console access to them, then you can simply check this option. And if you don't want to that, then you want only the provide the CLI action, you can provide that only. And as of now, I'm gonna select the custom password, and user don't need to create the new password on login. Suppose a new joinee join your company, you want to provide access to your AWS console. So you can simply type the auto generated password or check on this. So whenever a new joinee is logging into your AWS account, then he or she will require to change the password after signing in. So currently we are not going to do that, so I'm gonna select simple password for them. So this user is going to be admin. So I will show you. So this is the thing I have created. So if you want to create a group, so you can simply create a group. So I'm gonna create the group as admin. So what the permission this user going to have? Administrator access. And I have created the user group also. Now I'm gonna select the user group to add the permission into my IAM user. So you can see the username is Amitabh and custom password. and the permission summary as we have a part of admin group, and you can also add the tag also, so you can anything you wanted to, and click on create user. So this is how you can create the user, and you can email the sign in instruction to the new joinee. If a people have joined your AWS organization, this is how you can create a user and add a user into a group. Suppose a person is a developer, so you can directly add that person into developer group. He or she will get the permission of a developers should have into your AWS account. So if you see the, so I'm gonna continue. So you can see this is the user name, and what permission do I have? I have administrator access, which is a AWS managed, and it is attached via admin. So I have a part of admin. So if I go to the admin, we have listed a users, which is Amitabh, which have access to admin. And if I see the what policy is, a policy is basically a permission, a JSON document that listed what effect can be done into your AWS account, whether it's to create any resource, list any resource, or see a dashboard view, etc. So you can see what permission does the administrator have. So the admin have all of the services access out of 461. So currently AWS has 461 services. So the admin have all to access. And if you want to see into JSON, so basically the current version is this, a JSON document version, and you can add the statement array. So currently there is a one element which have effect allow. You are allowing action, whatever, get, list, create, destroy, whatever, and the resource entire AWS account. Basically star means all. So this is basically if you allow stars, this is admin privileges, and this is how you can create a IAM user and group into your AWS account. And if you want to log in into your IAM user, you can simply go to your dashboard and copy this sign in URL and open the incognito mode. So you cannot log in into multiple AWS account using a single browser. So AWS have noticed this issue, have a feature called multi-session support. I will show you the next after this. So you can add the IAM user name. So I have this. So whatever password I have set, so I can enter here and sign in. So this is how you can log in into your AWS IAM user. You need to provide the IAM user name and the password. How you can verify whether the IAM user or root user? You can click on the your profile name. So you will see I am user Amitabh. And if you go back to your root account, you can see I am not going to see the I am user Amitabh. So this is the root account. This is your I am user account. And if you don't like the light theme, you can select the dark. So this is your I am user. And if I go to the I am dashboard from the I am user, so here also I can see the security recommendation adding a MFA. So I have listing user permission because I have a part of the admin group. So if I remove the admin permission from this user, so what will happen? Let me show you. So if I'm gonna remove, so I'm removing this. So I have removed the permission as admin. So if I refresh this IAM user, I'm not gonna see the any user listed because the access is denied to see the content of IAM users. And if you want to add only a list user permission, then go to your root account, click on add permission. So you can simply add the user into group or attach the policy, and you can select the IAM. So you can select the IAM read only access. So the user can only read the IAM dashboard, cannot perform any action. It cannot create any resources. And if you want to create the inline policy, so you can click on the add permission and click on inline policy. So you can select the service here. So if you want to select the IAM, so I'm gonna select the IAM and what permission I have to do. So if I want to see only list user, So list user. So you can see I have allowed only list user. This is how you can allow the permission into your AWS IAM user, and you can also write the JSON. So you can see the ID is this effect we are allowing as an action as a listing user, and the resource is entire AWS account. And then click on next, and if you can whatever policy you want, so you can name the policy, my policy, whatever you want, and all resources limited as a list only. So you can see I have created the custom policy which have only the permission to list user into your IAM. So currently I cannot see any user. So if I refresh, I can only see the user listed here. I cannot perform any action into your IAM dashboard. Currently I can only see number of user into IAM dashboard. And if you want to verify whether the IAM user cannot create anything, so just click on IAM user, click on create user, then add anything like admin, and if you click on next, so you can see I do not have permission to create a user. I have only permission to list. So I have got the access denied error. So this is how you can create a AWS IAM user and the group, and enable a policies into your AWS users and group to provide the list privileges. And the next I want to show you that how you can use a single browser as a logging to multiple AWS account. So currently we are using the incognito mode. So I'm gonna close this incognito mode, and I want to use IAM user into the same browser. So how you can do? You can simply click on your AWS username profile, and here you can see the turn on multi-session support, and you just have to click on that. So your multi-session support has been enabled. Now you can log in into multiple AWS account, not only the IAM user. If you have a different AWS account ID, still you can log in into a different account into single browser. Simultaneously you can perform certain tasks whatever you want. Don't need to use a incognito mode or a private window or a certain another browser. So this is AWS has provided. Let me show you how you can do that. So it required me to sign in again. So this is the my root account, and if I go to the dashboard, so this is the user I have, and currently we have admin group. So go to your IAM dashboard. You can create a alias for AWS account. So I'm gonna create FNQVC QVC. So whenever I go to sign in, I will see this kind of URL, not the account ID. So after creating alias, click on your username. So you have to click on username, and you can see the multi-session support is now enabled. Then click on add session. So it will be redirect to login into your AWS IAM user. So you can add the IAM user name, then add the admin password. So you can now access the multiple AWS account into your single web browser. Don't need to manage any incognito or anything. So currently I do not have access to list the application as I have removed the admin privileges. So I'm gonna add the privileges of admin into my IAM user. So let me add permission. Click on add permission, add user to group. So I have added the permission. I'm gonna delete this permission. Okay. So if I refresh, so I will have the admin access again. So I can see anything, whatever I have to see. So this is how you can enable the multi-session support also. And if I'm going to see the IAM dashboard, I'm not gonna see any access denied error. So if I see the user, so you can see, so I can see everything. I have the admin privileges. So this is the root user and this is the IAM user. So you can verify, you can see the IAM user. and this is the session. So you can also turn off the session support also, or you can add the multiple session also. So this is how you can enable a multi-session support. And now you can create IAM user and group. You can attach policies into your IAM user and group. You can use multiple AWS account. And in this video, we are going to learn about AWS IAM policies, and we are going to cover what is AWS IAM policy and types of policies, and what is IAM policy inheritance concept, and what is IAM policy structure, how to create a policy, and how to test a policy created in a policy simulator tool without actually creating a policy in a production environment. So let's start with the video. So what is AWS IAM policy is? Basically, AWS IAM policy is a JSON document which specifies the version ID and statements, and it specifies the permission defining what the actions are allowed or denied on a specific AWS resources, and it is attached to IAM identity, user role group, and can be attached to AWS resources also. And it is a mechanism that is very useful for a administrator to use and create a policy with a list privileges permission. And what are types of IAM policy is? So basically there are three types of policies. First is identity based policy, which contains managed policy and inline policy. And second is a resource based policy, and third is a service control policy. So basically identity based policy is attached to user group and role, and we have in that a managed policy. A managed policy can be a AWS managed or a customer managed. So while creating a policy, I will show you what is AWS managed policies, and secondly is a inline policy. So you can create a policy directly using a JSON document, and you can specify whatever permission you want to provide. So what is a resource-based policy is? A resource-based policy is directly attached to AWS resources, can be a EC2 S3, defining what actions are allowed to do with a services and what they can do. And lastly is a service control policy, SCP, which is a AWS organization concept, and it is used in AWS organization to provide a permission to members of a AWS organization. And what is IAM policy inheritance? Basically, if you are a part of a developer group and your administrator allows some policies to a developer group, so all the member in a developer group going to receive that policy and going to have that permission. And if I show you with a diagram, then they suppose this is a developer group and you have a user. Okay, so these are multiple developers in a developer group. Okay, so this is a developer group in your IAM. So if currently the developers have a permission call to list IAM user, so they can only list. And in a future, if I add a administrator access to developer, so all the user in a developer group going to receive that administrator access indirectly. So this is the inheritance, that if a developer group have attached a permission, then all the user are going to receive that permission. And what is a IAM policy structure? Basically, how to write a AWS IAM policy. What is a pattern, a blueprint, how to write it. So it contains basically three components. First is a version, second is ID, third is a statement. So version is basically a policy language version, which is currently is 2012 and 10 and 17. So this is the version that is using and everywhere in a policy. So this is a common thing. And second is ID, which is optional for identifier for the policy. And third is a statement. Statement is a required array of individual permission statement, and it consists the main thing, which is a statement ID, which is optional, you can mention and you can not also. And what is the effect, whether you are allowing or denying access to specify action and resources. By default access is denied. So what is the principle? So required in a resource-based policy, not in identity-based. So it is basically specifies the entity can be user service or another AWS account that is allowed or denied access to the AWS resources. And what is the actions? What are the API calls you are going to create? Can be a list bucket or creating an instance or starting an instance. So these are the API you are going to call. And what are the resources? You can mention the star for the all AWS resources created in your AWS account, or you can specifically mention the ARN of that resource so that it can only apply to that AWS resource. And what is the condition? So it defines the specific circumstances under which the policy statements is in effect, such as a time of a day or the source of IP address of the request. Suppose if I am requesting from my computer, then only this policy going to be take effect and apply. So you can add the condition also, which is optional. So statement ID and the condition is optional. And this is the sample IAM policy. So this is the version which is a common in every JSON policy, and this is the sample ID I have taken, and this is the statement array. So this is the first element of the array. We are making the statement ID, and effect we are allowing, and principal we are allowing a AWS account, and this is the account ID of them, and this is the action we are allowing. This is a get object or put object. So user can make the API call of get object and put object, and the resources we are mentioning, this is the bucket, and this only you have access to it. And the condition we are making that multi-factor auth should be present and the IP address should be this. So this is the policy structure of IAM. And if we talk about how to create a policy, so go to your AWS account. In that, go to your IAM service, and in that go to users and select your created user. And if you don't have a created, so you can create watching my previous video, and you can see there is a button called add permission. So you can add a permission of AWS manage. So you can also create a group. So I have shown you that if you can create a group, so creating a group is better to provide a same permission to multiple users. And this is a very basic best practices for AWS IAM. You can create a group from here and you can give the permission to group. Suppose if you want, so I'm gonna create a developer group, and I'm gonna provide only the IAM read only access. Okay, IAM read. So this access I'm going to provide the developer group. So I have created a group. So I'm going to attach the user with a developer group which have only a permission to list the IAM contain or read. So let's create it, and we are attaching that permission to developer. And this user Amitabh has a permission called IAM read only access. So this is the permission which is have come from a developer group. And if you want to see a JSON document of that, how does the permission look like? So this is the JSON document where this is the version which is a common, and the ID is optional. As I have told you, the statement ID is also optional. So you can make a multiple array of this element. So in that, the effect is allow, and action we are generating credential report, get, and the star whatever. So star means whatever the API call start with a get, and the list also, and simulate custom policy and resource the entire AWS account created resource. So this is a JSON document we have get by AWS IAM managed policy. And if you want to create a inline policy, then go to your AWS IAM, and in that go to your AWS user, then click on add permission, then create a inline policy. In that you can directly write a JSON. If you want to write a JSON document, you can simply click on JSON. So here you can add the effect and action resources by typing, and you can add multiple array of statement. So this is how you can write it. And if you don't want to write, you can have a option this, so you can simply select. So still I'm gonna select the IAM, and in that I'm gonna add only a list user. So list user, so the resource is all resources, okay, and I'm gonna create it. So the policy is my policy, okay. So this is the policy I have created. So currently we have two permission to Amitabh user, and first one is come from a developer group and second one is created by me, which is the inline policy. So if I show you the policy JSON document, you can see this is the version and this statement has one array of element, which is a statement ID is this effect we are allowing, and the action is only to a list user, and the resource is entire AWS account created resources. So let's test whether the policies are working or not. So go to your dashboard and copy this sign in URL, and after that click on your username and turn on multi-session support. So using this you can add multiple session on, you can log in into multiple AWS accounts. So after that you have to click again on that username and add session. So this will open a login page. So what is my alias? So my alias is Amitabh DevOps and username is Amitabh and password is so this is the admin password and I have entered and log it into my IAM user. So currently I have a part of developer group and a custom policy. So you can see I don't have permission to list application. And if I go to IAM dashboard, so if I go to the users, so I have permission to list users. And if I remove that permission from my root account, so I'm gonna remove that permission. So I'm gonna remove all two permissions. So if I remove it, so I have removed the permission from my IAM user. I refresh this page. So you can see I don't have the access to it. So this is how you can create a policy and attach to AWS IAM user. And we are going to attach that policy again to my user. So you can click on IAM user. So I'm gonna add it to developer and admin both group. So admin access, as I've shown, this have a around 462 services access. And what is the AWS IAM Policy Simulator? Basically, AWS IAM Policy Simulator is a tool that allow you to test your created policy in sandbox environment created by AWS without testing your IAM policy in a production environment in a real AWS account, where you can select IAM user, role or group and simulate a specific AWS action. Suppose you have created a policy for the list user, so you can select that policy and run a simulation where you can select to list the user or a certain action allowed in IAM. So it will show the allowed and denied status, whether the action is allowed or not within that policy. So I will show you the demo of that. So for that, come to this URL. You can type this or I will provide into the description. So it will ask you to log in if you didn't log in into your AWS account. So here you can select a user, group or role. So currently I'm gonna select the user created, which is Amitabh. And you can see the read-only access is coming from the developer group and the administrator access is coming from the admin group. So for now, I'm gonna select only the read-only access to show you how you can perform the simulation. So from here, I'm gonna search the identity and access management. So this is the IAM. So here, so from select action, you can select a list user. So I'm gonna select the list user action. So let me select it and I can run the simulation. So you can see I have a permission to list the user, and at the same place if I select the EC2, okay, so let's close it, and at the same place if I select to EC2, and if I select any action, suppose a create a subnet and run the simulation, so you can see the access is denied with I am read only access. So I have access to read a I am dashboard only, not to create anything or read anything apart from the IAM. This is a policy simulator, a very useful tool to test your created IAM policy before going into your AWS real production environment. The policy simulator is a very useful tool that helps you to identify which actions are allowed or denied within a created IAM policy which you have written or created by AWS manage. Suppose you want to create some resources and you have created a IAM policy and attached to your IAM user, but in production environment the user cannot create it. So before that you can test a policy in this environment so that in a production the user don't face any issues. In this video, we are going to learn about AWS Password Policy. If you are a cloud administrator, DevOps engineer, or a AWS customer, then this setting is very useful for you and you should know it by default. So for that, log into your AWS account, go to your IAM service, and in that, click on account setting, and you can see the password policy. You can see what it is. You can set a password policy on your AWS account to specify complexity requirement and mandatory rotation period for your AWS IAM user password. Basically, if you are creating a AWS IAM user and you don't want that user should have a 8 character password length, you want a 14 character length or whatever you want. And if you want a password strength should be more stronger and other requirements should be changed. So for that, click on edit and you can see this custom button. Then click on that and you can see you can set a password limit. So I can set the 14. So 14 is the best practices to have a minimum length of password, and the password strength. So the password should contain at least one uppercase and one lowercase and require at least one number. If you don't check this option, then you can not have any number in your password. So check this option, and you require a non-alphanumeric password character, then check this option, and you can set a password expiration. Suppose you want user should create a new password after 90 days. So you can enter a 90 days here. After 90 days, the user have to create the password again, and you can set the expiration requires administrator reset. So after expiration, the user have to request administrator to create it, and you can also check this option on untick this option so that user can then change their own password. And you can also check the prevent password reuse. Suppose if you enter a 14, then the AWS remember a 14 previous password of a user, and the user cannot use that previous password also. So for now I am gonna check these options and save the changes. So I have saved the changes. So now the IAM user should have a 14 characters and this password string, and the password expiration is also set. So if I go to users and try to create a user and provide the management console access, so you can see the password must be at least 14 character, one uppercase, lowercase, and one number and one non-alphanumeric character. So this is how you can set a password policy, and as an administrator this is a very useful setting. So from now whatever user I create, this password policy is going to be enforced, and the user have to create their own password with a 14 character long, not less than 14 character. And this is how you can use a password policy. If you are a cloud administrator, you can set the policy as every IAM user should have this password pattern. And in this video, we are going to learn about AWS IAM roles, and we are going to cover about what is IAM role, what is a service role, and what are other types of IAM role apart from the service role, and how to create it and how to use it in your AWS services. So without any delay, let's get started. So what is a IAM role? Basically, IAM role is identity that you create in your AWS account that has a specific permission, what they can do or cannot do. It is similar to IAM user that has a specific permission policy to perform what they can do or they cannot do. So similarly is IAM role is, and a service role is a role which is assumed by a services in your AWS account. Suppose a EC2 want to perform some action on your behalf, then you can create a service role and attach it to EC2, and on your behalf the EC2 can perform the action which is defined in your permission policy. So let's start with the hands-on part. So for that, log in into your AWS account. In that, go to your IAM service, and in that, go to your IAM roles. So this is a role which is, you can read here, an IAM role is an identity that you can create that has a specific permission with a credential that are valid for a short duration. So it is a temporary based credential. So roles can be assumed by entity that you trust. So entity can be your IAM user, services, can be EC2, S3, and your application also. So for creating a IAM role, click on the create role. So these are type of entities in your IAM role. So this is a service role and this is a AWS account. So you are providing access to AWS account to perform your action in your AWS account. So you can attach this also, or web identity and this SAM 2.0 federation or a custom trusted policy. In this video, we are going to create the AWS service role. So we are creating a service for suppose EC2. So we are creating a EC2 service role. So we are selecting the use case as the EC2. Click on next. In that, what a EC2 can perform, you can attach the policy. For now, I'm gonna attach as a administrator. So let's click on next, and you can provide a name of your service role. So I will write as a EC2 my role. Okay, we are allowing to assume the role to the service and have a administrator access, so you can create the role. So you can see a role created. You can simply search. Okay. So this is the role I have created. So this is how you can create a role, which is a service role in your AWS account, and how to use it. We will going to cover in another video. In this video, we will see how you can attach an IAM role to the EC2 instance to provide a temporary access to perform any action to other AWS services. So it is a very useful way and the best practices that AWS recommend to use the IAM role, not the secret key and the ID that you create from the IAM users. So this is a video that I have mentioned in a past video of AWS SSA series, where I have mentioned that I will create a video how you can attach an IAM role to the EC2 instance. So this is this video. So idea is that we will launch an EC2 instance and we will connect to that EC2 instance with using the EC2 instance connect, and later on we will see how you can access the S3 bucket. So initially we do not have any permission to use the S3 bucket. So we will do the AWS S3 LS, see whether the S3 access is allowed to that EC2 instance to perform access with a AWS S3 bucket. Later on, we will create an IAM role and attach that IAM role to the EC2 instance, and we will see the difference before and after. So let's launch the EC2 instance. So I will launch the EC2 instance, IAM Instance Profile. And if you don't know how to create an EC2 instance, you can watch the previous videos, and we will select the Ubuntu, and we will keep the same T2 micro, and we will not using the key pair as we will use the EC2 instance connect. So we will connect the EC2 instance on the browser only, and there is an HTTP access and the 15 GB of this storage, and we will launch the EC2 instance. And after that, whenever the EC2 instance is running, we will connect the EC2 instance and we will check whether we have access to the S3 bucket or not. So let's wait to EC2 instance to be active. It is now running. We will connect that EC2 instance using the EC2 instance connect, and this is the public IP. We will connect that. And once the EC2 instance is ready, we will check whether we have access to AWS S3 or any other services you want to work with. You can check accordingly. And for now, if we run the AWS S3 LS, you can see we have to first install the AWS CLI. So we will install the AWS CLI. So this is a short way to install the AWS CLI. You can install from the browser also. Browser ones is recommended, not this one. So install from the browser. And once AWS CLI is installed, we will check whether we have access to the S3 buckets. So let's see. So you can see we cannot have the access to S3 bucket as we have not created any secret. We do not have created the AWS login. We have not done the AWS configure with the secret ID and the secret key. So if you want to provide a temporary access to the EC2 instance to communicate with other services and perform action within that, so for that we create an IAM role and attach to EC2 instance, and it will get to access that service and you can perform the action accordingly. So for that, we will create an IAM role. So click on roles in IAM dashboards and create role. So we are using the AWS service. So we are allowing the EC2 perform actions in this account. So use case will be the EC2 and click on next. And here we have to attach an S3 bucket. So we will create S3 full access, and if you want to provide read only, you can provide the read only also. And if you want to perform full access, you can select any permission and click on next, and this rule will be IAM Instance Profile S3. So this will be my IAM role name, and in the IAM trusted entities, we have the EC2 instance. So this is assumed by the EC2 instance, not other than that. And the policy we have provided is the S3 full access. Click on create role. And once the role is created, we will go to the EC2 instance created. We have now we will click on action. In action, we have to go to the security. In security, we have the option modify IAM role. Click on that. And here you will get an option to select the EC2 IAM role, whichever you have created. So you can see we have created this IAM role. We will select this and update the IAM role, and you can see we have attached the IAM role to the EC2 instance. Now the EC2 instance is able to communicate with the S3 bucket. It can perform any access related to the S3 as we have provided the full access of the S3. So now again we will check the AWS S3 LS. So now we will get the list of bucket that we have in our AWS account. So this is a way that you can provide a temporary access to the EC2 of any services that you want. This is just an example of the S3 bucket, and this is a promise that I have made in a past video to cover this in a future video, so that I have done. So you can use for any other services that you want. If you want to create for the EKS service, ECS service, you can easily provide the temporary access to the EC2 instance using the IAM role, and which is also known as instance profile. If you attach the EC2 instance, and you can delete the IAM role accordingly if you don't have to use that. So you can simply destroy the EC2 instance. You can terminate the EC2 instance, and for the created role, you can search the role that you have created. You can select it and click on delete. So this is how you can create an IAM role attached to EC2 instance and delete it accordingly. So we have terminated the EC2 instance and deleted the IAM role also. In this video, we are going to learn about AWS Security Tool, and we are going to cover about the AWS Credential Report Access Advisor, which is renamed as the last access. So without any delay, let's get started. Basically, IAM Security Tool helps you to control access with the features like Access Analyzer, which is used to identify overprivileged access. And secondly is a credential report, which is auditing a user credential, whether the user have the created the access keys, MFA status, their password, or etc. things. And last is a IAM Access Advisor, which is known as last access now, which show the last used permission of that user or role. We are not covering the access analyzer in this video because in that there is a lot more to cover. The access analyzer will come as a separate video. In this video, we are covering the credential report and access advisor only. So what is a credential report? Basically, account level report detailing user credential, password, keys, MFA status for the security audits. And to creating it, go to your IAM console. So this is the IAM dashboard. In that, you will see the access report where you can find the access analyzer. So for credential report, click on the credential report. So to download the credential report, you just have to click on the button and after that download it. And this is basically your access sheet. It will show you the user names, ARN, user created, password, whether is there is a password or not, when the password last has been created, MFA is active or not, and whether the access key is created or not for that user. So this is a credential report that you can generate with your AWS account. For that, you have to go to your AWS IAM console and you can simply create, and for audit purpose you can create whether the access key is created or not. You can report it and generate a report in your organization to provide to your senior whether the users are active or not, they are performing their task or also not. And secondly is the access advisor, which is now known as the last access. And what it is, basically it shows the last access services for users and roles, helping remove the unused permission, enabling the least privileges. So it will show you the user have access these services from a last days or whatever the last access of the services from the user, it will show. So if the user is not using the EC2 from the long time, then the user don't need to access that EC2 permission, so you can remove that permission from that user. So because the user is not required to use the EC2, and if by mistakenly you have provided the EC2 access, you can remove after it by looking into your last access. So to see that, you can simply go to your users, and it is applicable to users and role only. So click on user, whatever you have to see. In that you can see the tab last access. It is a access advisor only. Now it is renamed as the last access. So it will show the Amitabh user have uses this resources when and which resources or services he is not using. So you can identify that and remove that permission for that user so that you have enabling the least privileges in your organization. So last access information shows the services that this user can access and when those services were last accessed. Review this data to remove unused permission. So this is recommended by AWS also. So AWS S3 is last access today, a free tier access today with a permission from the administrator access, because Amitabh is a part of admin group which have the administrator access. So this is the services I have used yesterday, and you can go to second tab. So you can see the user have not accessed the service called app to runner Alexa for fitness. So the administrator can remove the permission from this user because this is not accessed by the user from a long time. Similarly, you can turn the pages and see which services are used by the user or not, and to remove that you can simply remove the permission from the user. And this is about AWS credential report and the access advisor. In this video, we are going to learn about AWS IAM best practices. So till now, we have covered the IAM user role, groups, and access keys, CLI, and all stuff. So now let's understand what are the best practices of using the AWS IAM. So without any delay, let's get started. So what are IAM best practices? So here are the key IAM best practices and the guideline that I have written for you. I will provide in the description of this video also. So let's understand one by one. First is avoid the root user for the daily operation. use it only for the essential account setup tasks. So using the root user for creating the user, creating the EC2 instances, creating the S3 buckets, it is not recommended by the AWS. For that, you have to create the IAM user, and from that, you have to create the resources. So for the daily purpose, you don't need to use the root user. Use the root user only for initial setup, like creating your main users, so that you can initially set up your AWS account with the root user, not for a daily operation. And secondly is to enable the multi-factor authentication for all users, so no one else can access your AWS account. Especially for the root account, to enable the MFA is mandatory, so that the other user, if get your AWS username and password, still they cannot access your AWS account. So that is the best practices. And third is to apply the principle of least privilege and granting only the necessary permission for a task, because managing a multiple permission at the same time can be a complex for you as an administrator. So initially start applying the least privilege only. If a user have to access the EC2, then provide only the EC2 access, not the administrator or other access. Okay. And fourth is to use the IAM role for AWS services and across account access instead of long-term access keys. As in a previous video, we have covered the access keys. So it is a long step to create the user. In that, you have to create the access keys, and you have to store. If lost the access keys, you cannot access your AWS account. Then you have to create another access key. So for that, and using for AWS services and cross account access, you have to use the AWS IAM role. So IAM role also we have covered in the previous videos. And fifth is using a temporary credential wherever possible to minimize the risk of compromised long-term keys. If anyone knows your access key, then they can easily access your AWS account and misuse your AWS account. So make sure you are following these IAM best practices. And the next is to assign the permission to groups and role, not the individual user, to simplify the management and scale. Suppose you are working in top MNC, there is a lot of user and the developer group or the operation group. Then providing the permission to individual user is very manual work and hectic for you, and can make a complex work for you. So add that user into groups based on their roles and assign the permission to that group only. Okay. So this help you to minimize your work. This will simplify the management at scale also. And the next is to implement the strong password policy with length, complexity, and a rotation requirement. As in a previous video, we have covered the password policy, where we have recommended to use the strong password for your AWS IAM user with a strong length and the complexity and the rotation expiration. So this is also recommended by AWS. And the next is the rotate access keys regularly. So after creating access keys, don't forget that you have to delete it and recreate after a certain periods. Don't use the AWS access keys for a long time. And the next is to monitor and audit all IAM activities using the credential report and the access advisor, CloudTrail, and the access analyzer. So as in a previous video, we have covered the credential report, access advisor, and CloudTrail is basically is to used to show you the API call made from your AWS account, which resources has been used. So you have to monitor what are the services has been used by AWS account. So you should monitor your AWS IAM activities, whether they are creating the unused resources or unnecessary resources. So you can manage and monitor them also. And the next is to regularly review and remove the unused users role and permission to reduce the attack surface. As if you are using the credential report and the access analyzer and the access advisor, so you can see from the access advisor, which is now renamed as the last access. So you can see the user has used that service or not. So from that you can remove the unused permission from that user or role. And the next is to implement the service control policy within AWS organization to set the permission guardrail across all account. Basically this is a IAM policy only that you use to apply the permission in AWS organization. Basically, in AWS organization, you manage the multiple AWS account and organizational unit. So make sure you implement the service control policy after creating a AWS organization. And the last is to never share your IAM users created access keys or any sensitive information, because if someone get your access keys, then they can easily access your AWS account. There your MFA will not work. If they get the access key ID and the secret, they can easily access your AWS account and misuse your AWS account, that you have to suffer with the losses and the lot of bill. So these are the best practices of IAM. I hope you follow these best practices and apply into your organization. So what is the permission boundary for the IAM entities? As in previous video, we have already covered how to create user and how to attach the identity based policy and the manage policy to that user. In this video, we are covering the permission boundary for the IAM entities as it's supported by the AWS. And a permission boundary is an advanced feature for using a managed policy to set the maximum permission to the identity based policy can grant to IAM entities, as you have set a permission as an administrator to the user, but you want to restrict that user to only get access to create the IAM user, not anything that. So you can attach the manage policy as a permission boundary to that user so that it cannot use anything. An entity permission boundary allow it to perform only the action that are allowed by both identity based policy and its permission boundary. The permission between those, the common permission between permission boundary and the identity based policy that is attached to the user is the effective permission that you can say. And if I show you how to identify what is the effective permission. So suppose this is a identity based policy that you have attached to the user, and this is the permission that you have set as a boundary for that user. So the permission lie between this section is a effective permission that going to apply to that user, not other than that permission going to apply on that user, and the permission is will be effective permission. Suppose as in identity based policy you have given the suppose administrator permission, and in a boundary you have said that only you can read the IAM user. So all the permission that is common in both of them, that will be a effective permission that is going to apply on that user. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So for the hands-on part, let's go to the AWS console. So I have logged in as a root account because the root account has a much more permission than the administrator IAM account. So currently I'm going to apply the permission boundary to the Amitabh user. As you can see, the Amitabh is administrator access by the group in admin. So let's set a permission boundary. So you can see you can attach a manage policy to the user as a permission boundary. So I will only add as a IAM read only access. So user can only read the IAM dashboard, not other than that. As Amitabh has administrator access, so you know Amitabh can create resources, destroy resources. That is a part of that manage policy. But if you set the permission as a read only access, so what are this permission is a common between both, that will be taken effect as a permission for that IAM user. So I will set the permission as IAM read only access. So if I log in as IAM user Amitabh, so you can check here is I'm Amitabh as a IAM user, and if I refresh this page, the permission boundary is going to apply on me. As if I refresh it completely, okay, you can see I'm getting access denied on other services. So is a so you can see the permission boundary in my IAM user. So let's try to create a user, whether I can create a user or not. So let's create a user. So let's next, and I will add in a developer group, next, and create user. So you can see the Amitabh, the IAM user is not authorized to perform IAM create user because the permission boundary doesn't allow us to create a user using the Amitabh as IAM user. So this is how you can use the permission boundary for the IAM user and the roles. And if you want to remove that permission boundary, you cannot remove as Amitabh user, as it has the permission as an administrator, but as we have attached the permission boundary, So effective permission, which is lie as IAM read only access, so it will take an effect. You cannot even remove the permission boundary, as I will show you. So you can see if I remove the boundary, I will get a permission boundary deny error. So you have to log in as a root account. So this is the root account, and you can simply remove the boundary. Now you can see I have removed the boundary, and I will refresh this IAM user, and let's refresh again. So it will take the effect of administrator access. So I got the permission as an administrator. Now if I try to create a user, so simply go to user and create. So I will add as a test. I will add a developer group, create user. So you can see the user has been created. So congratulations if you have learned all these concepts in this single video of IAM One Shot. I hope you understand all the concept related to the IAM service. AWS IAM is very useful service, and it is a recommended service used by most of the organization. If you have any question related to it, let me know in a comment section. I will definitely help you out with that. So that's all for this video. See you in the next one. Jai Hind. Bye.